Well, this was not the way the Giants wanted to start the second half. Good evening, everybody. I'm Steven Ruderman with your insomniac lunatic fringe Giants postgame show here on Sports Radio Service. Doing this live here, and then an audio recording will be available on Sports Radio Service at some point after we're done here. So the Blue Jays shut out the Giants 4-0 to open the second half. The Giants shut out despite getting 11 hits for the first time, and I am not joking when I say this, since August of 1959. My mom was still in my grandmother's womb when that happened. Sorry, Bob, I couldn't help it. And the last time the Giants even got 10 hits and were shut out was 1996. So this was a night to forget. The Giants have now dropped 3 straight. The Blue Jays rocked Justin Verlander for 4 runs in the bottom of the second inning, and it looked like it was going to be a good night. It was the Giants and Blue Jays north of the border. Sun was peeking through the roof at Rogers Center. Mike Yastrzemski and Elliot Ramos get base hits to start the game, and here comes Rafi Devers. He almost had his signature Giants moment. Would have happened if it wasn't for a great catch by Outman on Sunday. He grounds into a 4-6-3 double play. Matt Chapman grounds out to third to end the inning. So Justin Verlander got through some trouble in the first inning thanks to a 5-3 double play, but he was hanging a lot of stuff. And then came the bottom of the second inning, and it just, to be blunt, it got ugly for Justin Verlander. So Addison Barger, he reaches on an infield hit along the third base line to start the inning. No, that was the third inning. I lied. He hits a line drive off Verlander's glove, and then it ricochets towards Casey Schmidt, but it really slowed down, so Schmidt had no play. Alejandro Kirk, base hit. Joey Loperfido, I beg your pardon. He lines one down the right field line. Barger scores. Kirk is a catcher, so they're going to hold the chugging catcher at third base. It's 1-0 Toronto. Giants play the infield in for Ernie Clement. Ground ball to third. Okay. Can't score on that one, but then Will Wagner, third baseman, the 9-hitter. He lines one down the right field line. 2-run score. It's 3-0. Nathan Lukes, the leadoff guy, comes up. He gets a base hit. It's 4-0. And Justin Verlander just hung a lot of stuff. And he almost got rocked for more, but he was able to just barely squeak out of that inning without any more damage. And, you know, I really feel bad for Justin Verlander. Buster Posey went on Murph and Marcus on KMBR yesterday morning and voiced his support for Verlander and has talked about how he does feel like it's coming around for Verlander. And look, Verlander is still hitting 95, 96 on the gun, but it's just, he keeps getting lit up. This was Verlander's 16th start as a Giant. He is now 0-8. His ERA is now up to 4.99. And I have tremendous respect for Verlander. I think it was really cool that Buster Posey went out and signed him. But there comes a point where you have to do something with him. He's hurting the team. And there may come a point where Buster Posey just realizes this is not working out. And I'm not saying the Giants need to release him, but I'm just saying the Giants definitely need to take a long look at what Verlander's place is on this team. What really saved the Giants' bullpen tonight was Tristan Beck. Beck came in with 2 outs in the bottom of the third, got out of a jam for Verlander. He went on to pitch 4 1/3 innings, retiring all but one of the 13 men he faced. He gave up a leadoff base hit to George Springer in the bottom of the 7th, and then immediately induced a 6-4-3 double play off the bat of Vladimir Guerrero. Just really got to hand it to Tristan Beck tonight. He rescued the Giants' bullpen and made it to where they did not have to work tonight. So just real tip of the hat to Tristan Beck. Also, Matt Gage, who the Giants just called up. They had signed him a little while ago, left-hander. He came out for the bottom of the 8th. He pitched a scoreless inning. He did walk Loperfido with, that's a weird name. I apologize, with 2 outs, but he did pitch a scoreless inning. So a cool story for him. He was actually drafted by the Giants in 2014, so he finally got to make his Giants debut tonight. So good for him. But just a night to forget if you're the Giants. And what sucks about this game, too, is the Giants wasted a lot of opportunities, but it's not like they weren't hitting the ball hard. So the one thing the Giants really did when they got off to their 24-14 start was they would always have a response when the other team had a big inning. So Chris Bassett, Pitched very well tonight. It's been around a long time. First came up in 2014. He retired the first two men he faced in the top of the third following the 4-run bottom of the second. So with 2 outs, Elliot Ramos gets a base hit, and so does Rafael Devers. Giants have runners at the corners. Here's Matt Chapman returning to Toronto for the first time. He played there in 22 and 23. He hits one absolutely on the screws to left field. Right on the nose, but right to Lo Facito. Just hit it on the screws, but right to the wrong spot. And, well, there went that inning. And what you worry about that is that's how slumps can start, whether it be for just an individual guy or even for a team, is that you're hitting the ball on the screws, but you hit it to the wrong guy. So you get in your head and you're thinking you got to make these unnecessary adjustments. Let's just hope the Giants hitters don't do that. And look, let's be honest here. The Giants are definitely playing much better ball as they closed out the first half. Yes, they have dropped 3 straight. They haven't been playing the best ball their last 3 games, but the Giants shouldn't feel too defeated tonight. And look, and it's not the best look. Again, throwing getting shut out while getting 11 hits, that's not the best look. I get it. But they were making solid contact tonight. Rogers Center is a very live ballpark, one of the most live ballparks in the league. The Giants just need to show up, be ready to go tomorrow night. That's it. I'm not concerned. I get it. The Giants are now a game and a half back of the Padres. The Padres won tonight in D.C., so the Giants are now a game and a half back of the Padres for the third wildcard spot. If anyone is wondering, the Giants are now 52-46. They're 6 games over 500. I do not yet know who's starting tomorrow night. They only announced Verlander prior to tonight's game. It'll be interesting to see who starts tomorrow. Of course, Webb pitched the third inning in the All-Star game, so he wasn't going to start tonight. Maybe he'll start tomorrow night. I mean, he wouldn't be the worst guy to go. And hey, it would be fitting. The Giants can't win a game the day before Webb starts. He is going tomorrow. How about that? And then Robbie Ray's going Sunday. It will be Logan Webb against left-hander Eric Lauer tomorrow afternoon. It will be a 12:07 Pacific start, so 3:07 in Toronto, as the Giants will try and even up the series at a game apiece. And if I'm Bob Melvin, I'm putting out pretty much the same lineup as tonight. As I said, they were making solid contact. And how about Rafael Devers? Devers had 2 hits tonight. He had the base hit in the third inning, and then he had the double in the gap to lead off the top of the 6th. It's just a shame the Giants weren't able to do anything. And another well-hit ball. He was standing at third after Chapman grounded out to first. Willie Adames at the plate. He hits one on the screws, but it's right to Will Wagner at third. Go figure. Just bad luck all the way around for the Giants tonight. But, Devers, a big night, going 2 for 4. Elliot Ramos went 2 for 4. Of course, Yaz led off with the base hit. Willie Adames got a infield hit in the top of the 8th. Jung-Hoo Lee got a hit. And actually, I love the hit Lee got. It was in the top of the 2nd inning. And the problem with Lee, Sam and I talked about it last night, and Sam may join me here tonight. Sam, of course, will be hosting the Orange and Black weekend wrap tomorrow at 9 a.m. from 9 to 12 on 95.7 The Game prior to the game tomorrow in Toronto. We talked about how Lee was using all sides of the field and really has been trying to pull the balls of late. So Lee got into a 1-2 hole. He got a jam shot, and he was able to just fist it out into right center field. It was a beautiful piece of hitting. It was a beautiful emergency 2-strike swing. I'd love to see that from Jung-Hoo Lee. Casey Schmidt got a hit in the 2nd inning. Dominic Smith got a base hit in the 7th inning. But as I mentioned, and the Giants had a lot of rally sites. They just couldn't get it going. All right, let's bring Sam in. He is, okay, you all know who he is. Just watch him tomorrow, or I'm not watch him, listen to him. Actually, you might be able to watch him on a stream, but you can listen to him tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. from 9 to 12. He will be co-hosting the Orange and Black weekend wrap on 95.7 The Game. Here is one of my best friends, Mr. Sam Lubman. Sam, good evening to you, sir.
Hey, Steven. Oh, man, that one sucked again. Seems like we've been saying that a lot lately.
They were hitting the balls on the screws tonight. Before you came in, I was talking about how they were just hitting a lot of balls on the screws. The line out by Matt Chapman to left field to end the 3rd inning. The line out by...
That was I thought that one was going to get down. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, again, it's the first time since 1959 they've had 11 hits and 0 runs in a game. That's we saw a little bit of history tonight, but It's the exact same thing. It's missed opportunities. The big guys not coming through. Matt Chapman, I think, had 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position tonight. So it's your big guys doing it. Adames had a few. Devers had a few. Or Devers actually looked really good tonight, actually.
He did. He looked really good tonight.
Especially on the double. I thought he looked really good running into second base. There didn't seem to be a hitch in his step. The swing looked good. The 4 days off for him looked great. And if you're looking for a positive from tonight's game, Rafi Devers is absolutely that positive you can take away from tonight. But no, it's just, again, 0 for 9. They're not executing.
That's right. 0 for 9. I forgot to mention that. I apologize. But 0 for 9 tonight with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, and that's just unconscionable. It is. There's so many. A couple of the times, again, they were well hit balls. You mentioned that Chapman one there, but overall, it was ground outs. It was pop ups. It was strikeouts. It was, guys just not coming through when they needed to. You have the double play in the second. Matt Chapman had a grounder in the first. Dom Smith double play in the second. In the sixth inning, you had some very quick at bats. Chapman had 3 pitches after the Devers. This is after the leadoff double. Chapman had 3 pitches. Adames 3 pitches. Jung-Hoo Lee grounded out on the fourth pitch. You have quick at bats there with runners in scoring position. You're not making the pitcher work, and we're stunned when the results are less than stellar.
Well, the one at bat that comes to mind was after the long bottom of the second inning, and that's the kind of situation where Chris Bassett has to sit a while. We saw it burn Logan Webb last week when the Giants had their big 5th inning against the Dodgers. He got hit around in the 6th inning. What does Patrick Bailey do on the very first pitch of the 3rd inning? He pops out.
Yep, you can't do that.
That can't happen.
Yeah,
that can't happen.
The Giants need to be taking more pitches in these situations here. Now they did get runners on second and third there with Jung-Hoo Lee and Casey Schmidt, but Dom Smith hits first and second, but then Dom Smith hits to do a double play, and that ends it there. And it just goes meekly in that situation. But no, I'm looking at the second inning. You're talking about the 3rd inning.
Yeah, you were talking about the second inning. I was talking about Bailey's at bat in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, he has. Then you have Yaz pops out. Yeah, then Ramos, Devers singles, but then that's the Chapman hard line out. They needed to answer that, and Bailey did a horrible job of setting the table there in that inning.
Terrible job. And I don't like to rag on ball players. I know that it's a tough job, but after your team gives up 4 runs, and when you have a pitcher who just had to sit a long time, when that makes him really vulnerable, you got to be patient. And Patrick Bailey just flat out failed in that situation.
That first pitch. Let's see where that first pitch was. I'll pull it up here. That Bailey had in the 3rd inning. Pops up, on a fastball, middle in. I mean, it's just, again, you don't want to let those meatball fastballs right down the middle go. So I guess, that's a tantalizing pitch to want to swing at. Literally a 93-mile-an-hour fastball, basically right in the wheelhouse. That's a tough one there. You want to make, if you're going to swing, you definitely want to make contact. And then what you ended up doing is, you put your team behind another unnecessary 8-ball. And it made responding in that inning very difficult. And, after that 3rd inning, the Giants had chances, but it felt like that 3rd inning, and then that 6th inning, we had the Devers double. Those were your chances. You never did. And you completely did nothing with them.
I'm not going to make excuses. The one thing I will mention, the Blue Jays are a good team. And
you're going to, but this is the thing. You're going to have to beat good teams if you want to get where you want to go. And the Giants they can beat good teams, but tonight the Blue Jays just, honestly, I don't even think the Blue Jays played all that much better than the Giants. It was just the 1 inning.
It was
and that's where I look at Verlander and it.
Well, we have to talk about Verlander. Of course, Buster gave Verlander all, he voiced his confidence in Verlander in his interview with Murph and Marcus yesterday on KNBR. I'm not saying the Giants need to release him, but the Giants do need to have a serious conversation about what is going to be done with Verlander going forward. He's still throwing 95, 96. I feel like he's still got a little bit left in the tank, but he's hurting this team.
It seems deceptive, though, because, he's still throwing – his fastball still averaging around 94, 95, which is around his career norms, but it's not fooling anybody. I mean, he had tonight at one point he had 13 swings on the fastball and none of them were swings and misses. He had 16 swings on the fastballs, only 2 of them were swings and misses tonight. You go back to his last start prior to that, 2 swings and misses on the fastball. Start before that, 2 swings and misses. That was one of his bread and butter pitches when back in his heyday. And the batting average on the fastball is going up. Guys are missing it more. They're not being fooled by it. There's every now and then it's getting called for strikes. He's having some good starts here and there where against the White Sox, he had it called for a lot of strikes. But overall, though, when guys are swinging at his fastball, they're making contact with it. They're not putting it into play. That's why he can't put guys away. He's not finishing at bats. And that could really get deflating for a pitcher when you have all these 0-2 counts that are ending in, or 2 strike counts that are ending in contact.
Well, he also was hanging a lot of his breaking pitches in the first and second inning. Even in the first inning, he was hanging a lot of his curves and his sliders, and you knew that was not a good sign.
No, that's the other side of it. I think the curveball, again, that's his 2 of his better pitches back in his heyday were the curveball and the fastball. Those were 2 of his put away pitches. I mean, that fastball is legendary for getting up into the triple digits late in games. He can't do that anymore. And then he had that great sweeping curveball that he could use to make guys look silly. And you're right. He is hitting the curveball. Guys are not seeing it, or guys are seeing it a lot better than they used to. It doesn't, whatever he was able to do to get people to miss on that curveball, he is no longer doing that. And it's at a point where you got to wonder. It's at this point you have to wonder if he has anything left in the tank.
And
I do wonder that. And
I remember my dad has talked about how he has seen some players in his career and some great players, and he looked at them and is like, okay, they need to retire. He remembers watching Mark McGwire in his final year of 2001 buckling down on a hanging curveball and thinking he needs to retire. He remembers watching Miguel Tejada in spring training of 2011 take ground balls at short, thinking he's going to be gone by August 31st. And it was August 31st, exactly, when he was DFA'd, along with Aaron Rowan. Derek Jeter.
Clearly didn't have any of it. Yeah, it's just...
Derek Jeter.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Jeter in 2014, but I noticed it with Hunter Pence in 2020 when he foiled at a pitch in Houston that year. When I saw Justin Verlander 2 weeks ago, which was on the 4th of July, on the 20th anniversary of when he made his Major League debut. And I'm watching him now with a bunch of gray hair, and he's walking off the field after giving up 6 runs to the A's in a minor league ballpark. And I'm thinking to myself, and again, I hate saying this because I don't want to rag on Verlander. I have so much respect for Verlander as a ball player. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I also appreciate how he has spoken up against the stuff that Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball have done. But I remember thinking, he's walking off the field. I'm thinking this guy needs to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. He's at the end. I feel like he might have a little bit of gas left in the tank. Maybe he can give the Giants or some other team you and I were talking about, maybe the Tigers, a couple of good starts down the stretch. But I feel like we're at the end of the line for him.
No, I agree with you there. I think it's one of those things. 2 things can be true. Justin Verlander is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer one day. And this is going to be a year for him to forget. Like, look, we all think about the year that Buster had in 2021, his swan song. He had a great year, one of his best seasons of his career. Was a 300 hitter, hit almost 20 home runs. He looked like vintage Buster Posey. And then he called it quits. And he definitely had another year or 2 left in the tank. But Buster went out on his own terms. He went out on top. He went out with a little bit left in the tank. And I feel like that's how most athletes probably want to end, is they want to end it when they say it's time. When they know, okay, you know what, I've tapped out everything, or you know what, I got a little bit of juice left, but not enough to give. And the truth is, it's very few athletes go out the way Buster did. A lot of them go out how another guy, Miguel Cabrera, who was, put on the All-Star game and the All-Star roster as an honoree a couple of years ago. And Miguel Cabrera, one of the greatest hitters of our generation. Even at the end, he would still flex that power every now and then. When he stepped into the batter's box, he was still a hitter you had to respect. But he wasn't good. He just wasn't.
Right.
You know, if you stripped away the name and the honors that he's had in his career and looked at just his stat line walking in, you think this is a guy who's not good at baseball. Albert Pujols was in that same, bucket for a minute as well, though he had a much better finish to his career, actually. He's probably more in the Buster bucket than.
Where I would disagree with Buster is that Buster was having to spend like an hour or two every day in the trainer's room to be able to catch that year.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure that Albert Pujols in his last year with the Cardinals, he had to go through a lot of it too. It's just, Pujols, Buster, they went out with a little bit left in the tank. It's not very often guys get to have that that privilege, though. Sometimes the game tells them it's time to go. Guys sometimes will try and battle through that, and I respect Justin Verlander's competitive mettle here. I remember asking him, what does he want to prove, and he said he would not. What does he want to accomplish this year? And he said he wants to prove that he still has it. And I hurt for the guy because he's a legend. He is, and he deserves to go out better. But this is a cruel game, baseball sometimes, and we're seeing just the bitter end. Now, when is the time where you just is that a point where is he even going to finish the season out? Not just with the Giants, but just in general.
And the question is, if he does, will he try and go to spring training with some other team next year? And if he does,
I think next year is so far off his radar right now. He's got maybe 11 starts left that he can make this year. His next start's going to be next Wednesday in Atlanta. That's going to be a nerve-wracking start for him to make against that lineup. Then I think he'll have a start after that against the Pirates. That might be his last chance to do something. But at this point, either at minimum, you need to do a phantom IL. The more extreme option is he needs to accept a bullpen role. If Randy Johnson could do it in his final year, why can't Justin Verlander do it?
Yeah.
Granted, I understand that that's a bigger ask to him than just saying it right now.
Right.
So I understand the trepidation there. Then at that point, it's just like, well, you can't send him out there. He's not helping you win baseball.
He's hurting the team.
I'm
just being blunt.
Yeah. Now you could say that, there's a lot of he's been screwed over by the offense, and that is true. But here's the thing. Even if you give him a couple starts where the offense scores 2 extra runs, there was, let me, I wrote down his starts here. So against the Reds, no, let's say that that's not a good start. Let's say I'm not going to go through all of them, but here you go. Against the Diamondbacks on May 12th, he went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs. The offense scored 1 run, and he got the loss. If the Giants scored 2 extra runs there, give him that win against the Diamondbacks. Then he had his start against the Marlins, 5 innings, 3 runs allowed. Offense scores 2. Add 2 runs into that game, and then take away 2 Ryan Walker blown saves. And Justin Verlander is 4-6 right now. That's with a little bit more offensive help and a little bit of help out of the bullpen. He's 4-6, a very respectable record. He still has the same 4.99 ERA. He still has the same FIP that's in the high 4s.
Yeah. He still has the same hanging curves and sliders that are getting hit around.
He still has the same fastball that is not fooling guys anymore. I say, it's an honest 4.99 ERA that he has. It's not he's had a little bit of bad luck, but I don't think he's had enough bad luck to say that he's been snake bitten by bad luck this year.
Agreed.
You can look at his FIP and his BABIP numbers. The FIP is a little bit below the ERA, which is just a little bit, but not a lot of bad luck. The BABIP, it's around 3.18 right now. That suggests, again, some bad luck, but not a ton of bad luck. It's not enough to say that he's been screwed over by forces beyond his control. He has very much earned that 4.99 ERA. There is no metric, I think, that suggests he's getting screwed over. I think he's had some good outings. Don't get me wrong. He's pitched well in a lot of outings this year, but overall he's been a net negative.
And I would absolutely 100%
actually feel good about the Giants, because I was like a starting pitcher when you see him on the mound, when you look in the box score and you see who's starting that day, your opinion of whether or not you think your team is going to win that day is formulated by seeing who is in the box, who's going to be in the starting pitcher's box. So like when you open up the paper and you say, and you see the Giants against Clayton Kershaw, immediately like, well, shit, nothing's getting done today. But if you open up and you see like a Patrick Corbin, oh, okay, this guy's not very good. We might have a shot today. That same thing works for your own starting pitcher. When you open up the box scores, you say Logan Webb is on the hill tomorrow, is on the hill for your team today. You feel pretty good. When Justin Verlander is in that box score for today's starting pitcher, how many Giants fans are looking at being like, okay, we got a chance today versus, oh crap, not this again.
And I was quite shocked that the Giants turned to him to open the second half. And his final totals tonight, 2 2/3, the 4 runs, 9 hits, didn't strike out anybody. Mm-hmm. And of course, the hit batsman. I was frankly surprised that Melvin sent him back out for the third. I do not think Melvin should have sent him back out for the third.
Again, I was kind of surprised too. I don't know if anyone asked why Verlander was given the assignment to open the second half. Clearly, they want to give him as good a chance as any to right the ship. And is the guy who, he had a not awful start his last time out against the Phillies. 6 innings, 4 runs, 2 of them earned. Offense was shut out again, and he ended up getting the loss. That comes after the bad start against the A's. But if you look at his last 4 starts coming into tonight, you had 3 good starts and 1 bad start in those 4 starts. They're clearly trying to give him runway to get himself right. And they're giving him a lot of leash in respect here. And this is where Buster Posey, I like that Buster's giving these votes of confidence to Justin Verlander. I like that he's giving those votes of confidence to Bob Melvin. But at the same time, there's a part of me that's just like, you're getting a little too liberal, I think, with some of these votes of confidence.
I wouldn't say I would. I actually fully agree with him extending, or not extending, but giving Melvin his option.
Yeah. But do you
Verlander, I'm like, oof.
And I think when you do that, you kind of chain yourself to certain situations. Yeah. And the reason why I kind of am side-eyeing Posey picking up Melvin's option for next year is that what if this team doesn't make the playoffs, and it becomes apparent that you do need to make a manager change? Can Buster go back on his vote of confidence and make a change there? I don't know if Buster can or does do that in that situation. That's for later on to decide, though. But now here's again another situation. You're going out and giving the vote of confidence to Verlander, and you've shown that when you give a vote of confidence, you stick behind it. Are you going to pull your plug on that right away? And I think in this situation, like, it might be best for Buster to just wash his hands of this and be like, you know what, we tried, but it's just not there.
We talked about this last night. I don't think you need to fire Bob Melvin if they miss the playoffs. Now, let's say they totally collapse and they end up losing 85 games. Then maybe
context matters. Yeah.
I mean, the National League is fairly.
If they're in the playoff hunt and maybe they miss it by a game here or there, if they're the first team out by a game, I think is a harder case to move off of Bob Melvin. But at the same time, I just think this team is. The lineup talent is too good. And I'm talking about Devers, I'm talking about Adames, I'm talking about Chapman, I'm talking about Ramos. If they can get those 4 guys going at the same time, hitting consistently, because Ramos looks completely lost right now.
Yeah.
That last strikeout he had before.
He had 2 hits tonight.
That last strikeout he had before leaving in the 7th inning, though, that was a horrible base job there.
But you also maybe look at the coaches like Pat Burrell. I mean, because Pat Burrell's got a lot of guys up there who are pressing, who have a hard time getting out of slumps, and maybe not changing managers.
Sacrificial lamb, but I think we've litigated this. I don't know if it is all on Pat Burrell, because we know that Pat Burrell isn't the only hitting coach that these guys work with. We've seen in real time, Steven, that Pat Burrell is working with these hitters. Will Clark is working with these hitters. Barry Bonds is working with these hitters. It is not just Pat Burrell and the hitters. So if you're going to take a look at the hitting coaches, you need to take a look at all 3 of the hitting coaches there, the official and the unofficial ones.
I think Will Clark would be a great full-time hitting coach.
But again, the way we see him working with these hitters, he more or less is. I mean, how many times every time I've been at the ballpark, granted, I'm not there every night, but every time I've been there, it seems like I see Will Clark there. Every time I'm there, I feel like I see Barry Bonds in the batting cages. I don't know. Again, there's a lot of games that I am not at, but the games I am at, like I've been to, I think 20 home games, something about that this year. So about on a little under half of their home schedule. And I think I've seen Bonds or Clark at almost all those games in some capacity, either on the field or in the batting cage, just kind of chatting with players. Like these guys are around. So that's why I have a hard time pinning it all on Pat Burrell, because Pat Burrell is not the only hitting coach in these guys' ears right now.
But the thing is, I wouldn't fire a manager unless they're really screwing up big time with their moves and or they have lost control of the clubhouse. And it seems like the players really do like playing for Bob Melvin. They seem to think he has their back. I just don't think this is one of those things, unless they really collapse down the stretch and Melvin loses control of the clubhouse and the clubhouse goes to hell, that you have to fire the manager.
The thing about Bob Melvin is Bob Melvin's not a manager who's going to make your team worse. Like, I think he is smart enough, an X's and O's guy in the regular season, that he's not going to make a team's record worse than it should be. But I don't know how much he's going to make a team better than it should be either. Like, I don't know how much of a boost Bob Melvin gives a team. Like, Bruce Bochy could bring a tangible boost to a team. Some guys, Terry Francona could bring a tangible boost to a team. Some guys just, they can steer the ship. They're kind of like chaperones. They just got to handle all the technical stuff while the team does what it needs to do. I think Bob Melvin is more of one of those kind of managers. If you get to the end of this season and you feel like this team had another level it could have reached, but didn't, and as a result they missed the playoffs, that's going to be a more nuanced situation. Then I think you're taking a hard look at the coaching staff. But let that play out before we kind of start talking about
Melvin's only in his second year, Sam. This is Melvin's second year managing the team. I really don't blame any of this on Bob Melvin.
Again, I'm just saying the magnifying glass is going to be, I think, a little bit scrutinized on him a little bit, because it's just, I think this team is good enough to make the playoffs. And if it does not make the playoffs, that's going to be a bad look on the coaching staff.
I think if they don't make the playoffs this year, let's say they win 83 to 85 games and they miss the playoffs, then I think Melvin's definitely he's definitely on the dance floor next year. Like if they struggle next year, then it'd be like, okay, maybe time to move in a different direction. But I wouldn't fire him at the end of the season, especially the fact he's only been here 2 years. And I don't want to jinx things, but I really have a hard time believing this team's going to collapse like they did in 2023.
No, I think
not be in the hunt.
They're right now 6 games above 500. They're on pace probably to be about an 85 win team, which is about what but again, if they can, this is where they need to get guys going. This is where they need, if Devers can heat up, that's huge. Damas is still looking good. They need Chapman to get his back going again. He's going to have a bit of a ramp up period after he came back from injury. And they need Ramos to start hitting better too. If the key is Devers, if Devers is the hitting force that we know he can be in the second half, this team will be in the playoffs.
Here's the thing I want to mention, going back to the hitting coaches. Will Clark is probably there once a month. Barry Bonds is one of the best hitters of all time and a brilliant human being. But as we saw with his time in Florida, he's not necessarily the greatest teacher. And Bonds is one of those guys. Ted Williams kind of had a similar problem, which is when you're so talented, you kind of have the mindset. Bonds and Ted Williams both had the mindset of,
I don't know about that.
Let me finish. Bonds and Ted Williams had the mindset of everyone should be as good as I am. And they're working with guys who are nowhere near as good as they are. Bonds, I'm not saying Bonds is a bad teacher. Bonds has definitely been able to teach some guys. There have been guys who've been able to take a lot of stuff from Bonds, but not everyone is able to take is not able to take what Bonds teaches them. That's my point.
I don't know, because I've had conversations with guys in that clubhouse who have worked with Bonds, and they say he makes the learning fun. They enjoy it. He takes them under their wing. He's very approachable, and from what I gather, it's learning from Barry is not that difficult. He's willing to dispense the language. And now being taught hitting and actually doing hitting and the mindset. And that's what I've heard a lot of the conversations are about, is the mindset. The mindset, that takes time, and you still have to have the ability to hit the bat. And that's where, Barry had a God-given ability to put bat
Yeah.
on ball that very few people who have ever walked this earth had.
And that's the point. Bonds, you watch him walk to the plate.
But
that look on his face, he owned the plate. He had that look on his face.
That's mentality.
You can't teach that.
You can teach mentality. You can't teach is how just the hand-eye coordination required to put the bat on the ball as often as he did.
You can't teach the hand-eye coordination, and you can't teach just how much confidence he was. I've never in my life seen a hitter like with the confidence like Bonds. Just the look on his face when he'd step to the plate. Just that I think look on his face.
There's one thing for confidence. I think you can absolutely teach hitting mindset, though.
But not the way Bonds had it, because Bonds had that look on his face that whatever you throw me, I'm going to hit it out.
Well, yeah, that's
you can't teach people that mindset.
He has God-given ability to hit the baseball. Again, my point is, it's Barry is able to bring these guys under his wing. He's not going to, if you're expecting, if you're learning from Barry, you're going to turn into Barry Bonds, then you don't know how this works.
I'm not saying that they would turn into Barry Bonds, but what I'm saying is Bonds only has so much that he can teach. I remember in 2007, he worked with Kevin Franzen on something with this swing. But the problem is what I'm saying is that the guys that Bonds is taking under his wing, they don't have the talent that he has.
Okay, but I'm saying you're making it seem like he can't do anything for him. Like,
I'm not saying he can't do anything, but Bonds does kind of go in with the mindset. Ted Williams is this way as well, that like everyone should be as talented as I
would disagree with that. I don't think he does. I don't think he's just like, these guys should be as good as me. I think he has more wherewithal than that. And I think that despite that, I don't think that's impacting how he's able to work with these guys.
And maybe he has gotten better at that as it's gone along.
Sure. Let's go with that. Yeah.
Because Bonds definitely did have that problem in Miami. And as I said, it's very possible in the years since he was in Miami that he's gotten better at teaching guys.
From what I gather, he has no problem connecting with these guys. So, but again, these guys are only so good. But anyway, listen, man, I gotta get going. We got some stuff we gotta do before bedtime. But thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, thanks for coming. Hope to have you again. I'll be doing another post game tomorrow if you want to come on. If not, totally cool.
All right, we'll see you around.
See you around. Sam Lubin, everyone. You can watch him or listen to him tomorrow, 9 a.m. on the Orange and Black Weekend Wrap on 95.7 The Game, 9 to 12. Tune in, folks. I definitely will if I'm awake.
Awesome. That's all I asked for. Thank you, Steven.
If I'm awake. All right, Sam. Thanks, buddy. So, a little news around the league today. The Phillies unveiled the logo for next season's All-Star Game in Philadelphia. Everyone knows that I love stuff that has to do with logos and whatnot. I haven't been happy with how bland and corporate a lot of the logos have gotten lately, especially the World Series logos. But I really do think this All-Star logo is pretty solid. I just, the star with the little lightish blue silver Liberty Bell, and you have the blue star with the kind of red outline. I just think this is a pretty cool logo. Actually, the All-Star Game logos have been pretty cool as of late. 2023 and 2024 both had great logos, and I would say they are probably better than this one just because those were such great logos. But this is a pretty solid logo. So I was happy to see. I wasn't a big fan of this year's logo, but I really like the logo that they're unveiling for next season. One thing I wanted to get to last night, but I wasn't able to, expansion. I believe Major League Baseball can expand, but Rob Manfred has long said that in order for Major League Baseball to expand, the A's and the Rays have to have their stadium situations settled. Now, Manfred's claiming that the A's are going to play in Vegas in 2028. Yeah, not happening, okay? Because he attended the fake little groundbreaking where they dug ground in a mound of dirt that was built inside. If the A's put on a webcam that you can watch the construction, and all it's been is like a whole month of people digging circles in dirt, okay? There's no real direction where there's that thing's going. No one has any idea what's going on down there. They're just digging dirt. That ballpark is not going to be open in 2028. But the good news is the Rays have finally sold their team. Stu Sturberg, I think's his name, sold the team to a guy from Jacksonville. He's keeping him in the Tampa Bay area, and he's doing what I think the Rays always should have done, is he's going to look to build a ballpark in Tampa instead of St. Petersburg. They, of course, were pretty much on the precipice of a ballpark deal just last fall. They were going to build a new ballpark around the Trop. It was going to be open, it was set to open in 2028, but then after Hurricane Milton damaged the roof at the Trop, that threw everything completely into limbo, and then by the end of last year, the deal was destroyed. But that new ownership group should take over in September, and I think could do good things down there. But what really needs to happen with the A's is John Fisher needs to sell the team. Ideally to Joe Lacob, and they move back to Oakland, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if Vivek Ramadeve buys the team and keeps them here in Sacramento permanently. He could build a new park here in Sacramento feasibly by 2029. But going back to expansion, we have to wait until the A's and Rays have their ballpark situations squared away. I have never heard, this is absolutely preposterous. Never in the history of professional sports has a commissioner said, we're holding off on expansion until other teams in our league get their, build a new venue and get that situation squared away. That has never happened. And people have talked about how Manfred's just a stooge for the owners. Of course, Bud Selig we know was, and most commissioners have been, people like Bowie Kuhn, etc. But this is where I argue that Manfred, a lot like Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis and a lot like Peter Uberoth, has his own ulterior motives and wants to exert control and influence over the owners and wants to be the big cheese in charge. There is absolutely no reason for Major League Baseball to hold off on expansion. The expansion fees alone will make a lot of money for Major League Baseball and its owners, and then not to mention two new teams taking the field, playing games, the attendance, the television ratings. It's going to make a lot of money for Major League Baseball and its owners. There's absolutely no financial reason to hold off on expansion until the A's and Rays get their ballpark situations squared away. This feels like, to me, a power play by Manfred telling the owners, you're not getting your expansion until I get what I want. And Manfred has done things that have not been in the best interest of the owners before. In 2021, when the owners wanted to play a shorter season that year, they wanted to play 154 games because they wanted to have opening day when they'd be more fans at the end of April. They were going to do basically a 5-month season with double headers, 154 games, which would have been a great test run for a new way to do the regular season, 154 games with double headers. The owners wanted that. Manfred waited until the end of January of 2021 to propose that, knowing full well the players would say no to it, so that he could just see, basically make it a show and make the players look bad a year ahead of the CBA expiring and the eventual lockout. Had Major League Baseball and the owners proposed this in December, the players would have almost certainly would have agreed to it. But Manfred waited until the end of January so that he could just do a little PR stunt to try and make the players look bad. And by the way, he failed miserably at that. And the owners did not get what they wanted. And expansion, the same thing. They could easily get an expansion committee together in the next couple of months, get the process going, and then at some point in the offseason, maybe in December at the winter meetings, or maybe January and February before the start of next season, announce two new expansion cities, and have them on the field in 2029. There is absolutely no reason at all to hold this up any longer. I personally would love to see Portland and Nashville as the two expansion cities. I remember thinking, where would Portland build a ballpark? Well, I'll show you. I was thinking, because they were thinking about doing one in East Portland and then one at a golf course in Southwest Portland. And I was about a year ago, I was looking at a map of Portland. And I was thinking, there's this little spot right here on the Willamette River, just south of where the 5 and the 405 intersect, because there's that little 405 loop that goes around downtown, really tiny, at a place called Zedell Yards. Oh, there's the logo again. Right there. And lo and behold, the Portland Diamond Project chooses that location. And a ballpark right on the Willamette River in one of the most beautiful cities in the country, where you could have a view of both Mount St. Helens and Mount Hood. I mean, here's the view, what it would look like from center field. It would be a roof stadium because you get a lot of rain in the Pacific Northwest. It's kind of a marine ocean-like climate. But I mean, look at this. I mean, you could see the view north into downtown Portland from kind of the right field line. And then you could see here, I believe that's Mount St. Helens. Or actually, you know what? That might be Mount Hood. But look at this. Look at these photos. Look at how beautiful that is. Imagine having a ballpark just south of downtown Portland, right on the Willamette River. If Major League Baseball truly wanted to do this, they could have this ready to go at the start of the 2029 season. And I say go a step further, have the 2029 All-Star Game there. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a Major League team? And please put them in the National League West so the Giants can go there every year. And you better believe if that happens, I'll be there in the summer of 2029 to watch the Giants play whatever name the Portland project calls its team. Absolutely no reason for Manfred and Major League Baseball to keep dithering on this. And the more they dither on this, the more this feels like a power play by Manfred, who did a sit-down interview with some guy from CNBC the other day prior to the All-Star game in Atlanta. And he was saying, I'm remaining really committed to waiting until the A's and Rays are situated to do expansion. And that just tells me this is a power play on his part, trying to assert his dominance over the owners. And I hope the owners just make a stink over this and say, yo, Rob, we want expansion. So that'll do it. For Sam Lubman, for my boss, Lee Leonard, who heads Sports Radio Service, I'm Stephen Rubin. Hope you enjoyed the show. Giants and Blue Jays tomorrow at 12:07 Pacific, 3:07 Eastern. It will be Logan Webb, who once again has to be the stopper. Tim Lincecum had to be the stopper so many times back in the day. And it'll be the left-hander, Eric Lauer, for the Blue Jays. Hope you enjoyed, folks. Have a good night. I'll talk to you soon.